For this demo, we're going to restore this photograph. I've opened this in Photoshop, and almost immediately you can see that it needs to be rotated. I also want to make sure that we're all in the same workspace, so just a reminder, I'm using my Essentials workspace, and you can always reset your Essentials under your window menu so that you get a similar layout for your workspace as I have. Okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to reorient this image. We'll find the image menu at the top of our workspace, and we'll navigate down to image rotation. And this image needs to be rotated 90 degrees clockwise. 90 degrees counterclockwise. That will rotate our image so that it's oriented correctly. Now, we also might want to rotate the image a little bit because we can see that the image is a little bit crooked on our artboard. Oops, I did not mean to do that. It's a little bit crooked on our artboard, so I'm just going to quickly unlock this layer. And then use the shortcut key Command T, Control T on a PC, and I'll just rotate this. Oof, it's just a little jumpy here. Rotate this so that it's as straight as I can get it. And I'm not holding a shortcut key, but I think I must have a snap option set up. Yes, under View. So if when you're rotating or transforming something it seems to be jumpy, navigate to your View menu and find Snap or Snap To and see what has been selected. So I have quite a few snap options set up. So I'm going to turn off Snap and just see if that helps me with this rotation. It's still kind of jumpy because of my guides and my grid. Okay, so I might need to go in and actually turn off all these other snaps. Right. There we go, a little bit happier. Okay, once I'm happy with the rotation, I'll press return to set the transformation. And then we're going to start by zooming in and doing some edits. Now, we've never done any restoration in this class before, but we do have quite a few tools in Photoshop to do this. And we have something called a clone stamp tool that's very popular, and we also have something called a spot healing brush or healing brush tool. These actually, even the patch, all of these actually in this flyout menu can help with restoration in different ways, and I'll provide links to how to use these tools in the assignment through Adobe Help, which I find very helpful just if you want a quick overview of a tool. The clone stamp tool, which is just below the healing brush tools, the clone stamp tool allows you to select pixels and then place those pixels somewhere else. So oftentimes people will work with both clone stamping and healing to clean up mistakes or issues within a photograph. Okay, so let's try using our healing brush tool, and you can see J is the shortcut key. Shift J will navigate through all these different tools here. Let's use a regular healing brush tool, and it is a brush oriented tool, so we may want to, a little hard to see on screen because of the gray, but I'm just going to increase the size of this brush a little bit. Okay, and I didn't mean to click, sorry. This is when my eyesight's a little bit bad on a gray background with a gray paintbrush. What you'll do is you can press Option and click on the pixels that you want to be selecting from. So I'm going to Option click just above this tear in the photograph. You can see that little target. And then with my brush, I'm going to hover over this and try painting, and we'll see what happens. Okay. So that's, just to give you an idea, oh, I love showing that. That is the regular healing brush tool. And it does a pretty good job at healing things, but notice that it also is slightly problematic. My Photoshop really doesn't like these tools because they do pull in a little bit of RAM memory space because it's trying to connect and preview all these different pixels. You can see what happens. I'm going to go back to my move tool because that healing brush is making my Photoshop angry. You can see that the healing brush, while it did a really good job based on where I selected, and then as I painted, it used the pixels from the point where I selected and where I painted, and it replaced it and then kind of healed the edges so that it was a seamless paint. But now, upon further investigation, you can see in some ways it duplicated the pixels that it was copying. And that's not always the desired effect. You can also see a little bit of a weakness here with this healing brush when you get close to high contrast areas. So here where I painted at the edge of the photograph, because it is trying to, quote, heal, which is a way of Photoshop sort of automating a seamless edge, what happens is it pulls in these white pixels over here on the right side, and it's trying to make sense of it all and smooth it out, but what you get is this sort of odd brush stroke. So it may be that this healing brush I'm just Command Zing backwards, undoing. It may be that the healing brush isn't perfect, okay, for this, but it works pretty well. There's also this idea of a spot healing brush, which, again, I'm having trouble seeing my brush. Let me see if I can get a different kind of visual brush here. I might need to go up to Photoshop. Let's see, okay, I think we want, yeah, I think that's what we want. So I'm going to try this standard brush and let's see if that helps with my cursor. And I'm in my Photoshop preferences, sorry about that. Just realizing this photograph is, oh yes, this is much better. The photograph is so neutral gray. This is when I know my eyes are going, that I cannot see the paintbrush. So I needed something like an icon following me around. All right, so the spot healing brush tool, just to give you an idea, what this does is it is going to allow me to simply click on areas that need to be healed, and it will just automatically heal them. Okay, so let's say I wanted this little spot here gone. I click on it and it does a pretty good job for small areas. Okay, so spot healing brush is for these little, maybe some little edges. See that? And it'll tidy them up. It usually does a very good job, I would say. Very, very good job. Let's see if this works. It might be a little too much. Yeah, so just drag along any spaces that you'd like tidied up, and does a great job. So this is the spot healing brush. I'm not sure how it's going to work here, but let's see. I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. I'm using my right bracket there. Oh, you know, pretty good. Pretty good. Alright, so you can see the strength and weakness between this brush and the healing brush tool, right? The healing brush, because it's pulling directly from specific pixels, gave you a little bit of a duplication. Now, the other tool that you could use, although it takes a little practice, is something called the Clone Stamp tool. S is the shortcut key, and just like the healing brush tool, you pull from pixels and then it applies them. So I can hold Option, Alt on a PC, and I'll click where I want to select pixels from. Okay, I've clicked right there. And then I'll brush over this tear and it'll paint those pixels in. And that looks very good, actually. I think the Clone Stamp tool is pretty good. The healing brush tool also did very good. The only downside is the healing brush tool also tends to paint away detail. So if you'll see this, now this is part of a wrinkle in the page, but notice as we paint, it's kind of eliminating any detail that's under there. So sometimes you want to be a little bit careful about how much of this you use. Okay. There are settings for this healing brush tool. We're using Content Aware. We're also asking it to create texture. And you can see, I'm sorry, we have it selected as Content Aware, but you could ask for it to create texture. So let's see if that gives us a better result. Ooh, actually not better. Actually not a better result. So this is always important to sort of test out your tools. Okay, so create texture. I mean, it makes a little bit of texture. And then we also have something called proximity match. Okay, which actually appears to have more texture than the actual setting for texture. But you can see as you use these how they can be helpful. Now we just have one layer, but notice in your options here, you could sample all layers. So if you're trying to duplicate from somewhere else or heal from somewhere else on the page, you could also do that. So I'm going to take my clone stamp and I'm going to zoom in here, this corner. I'm going to option click on the shadow, and then I'll take my paintbrush and using those dark pixels, I'm going to paint away these details. I'll use the spot healing brush tool, J, to get rid of some of these white spots. I'm zoomed in here. Remember, you can zoom in with, I like to just zoom in with my mouse. So I have a little mouse pad that I zoom in and out on. But you can also Command plus, Command minus, if Z is your zoom tool. And I'll just quickly also use this tool here. Oops, I'm sorry. Paint away some of these little spots. Okay, so that looks pretty good. If we wanted to get real thoughtful about things, we could also use this clone stamp to select from some of these bricks and paint in. Oops, I'm going to take a larger brush, just increase this brush size. Paint in some details here. But of course, you can see once we do that, we do need to now edit the edge of our image. So C is your shortcut for the crop. crop this image. And we'll see if there's any corners that still need some work. I'll press return. Okay, and that looks pretty good. I will leave some of this healing for you all to do. So if you wanted to heal this one, you could heal this right here. Let's see, that did not do so good. So I might go into my brush tool and see what happens. No. Oh dear. I'm going to have to delete this part. Well, I don't know why my brush is looking. Oh, because Photoshop's running funny. So you can do some, explore the clone stamp and the healing brush tools. And then what I'd also suggest is that you make some adjustments so this photograph feels a little bit fresh. So what we're going to do is add an adjustment layer for black and white. Oh, it is already set to black and white. So add a brightness contrast adjustment. Let's brighten this up. Let's increase the contrast. If you want more control than this, you could also choose in your adjustments curves, which will really give you a lot of control, okay, over your blacks and whites. And always remember, we haven't talked too much about curves, but an S-shaped curve is always going to give you contrast. Okay, so let's see, before, after, okay, and, oh, oops, and then the last item that I would suggest is that we do a little bit of sharpening. Remember that adjustments are just adjusting for tone and color. If we want to adjust the way pixels look, what we'll want to do is we will want to adjust or make changes to the layer or to a duplicate of the layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate this layer . And apply a blur . Oh, I'm going to apply an unsharp mask. Okay. And unsharp masks are really interesting. They will allow you to create sharpness where there's contrast. So you can see, but you can preview what you're doing in this space, and then if you want to see what it looked like before, hover over the preview with this hand tool and press your mouse. So this is before, and then when I release this mouse, hopefully that video is capturing it for you. It's it's kind of sharper. Now this may be overly sharpened. Notice how her face is starting to look very pixelated. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring down the radius and maybe increase the threshold. There we go. It's very subtle, but it is going to create a little bit of contrast. And what I'll do is I'll rename this layer Unsharp Mask Overlay. And keeping this layer selected, I'm going to actually change my settings for my blend mode to overlay. Bring that opacity down a little bit. Does not have to be a lot, but you can see what's happening here. It gives you this nice, sharp contrast without losing any detail. So the unsharp mask literally with the overlay setting actually sharpens. It's kind of a funny thing. We won't get into all the details about why that's happening, but you can see before and after. Okay, so if we wanted to see before and now, unsharp mask, some brightness, and curves with contrast. Now, if this contrast is too much for you, you can always go back into this adjustment layer and soften it a little bit. I always like for photographs to have some solid blacks, right? Some solid whites. Everything in between should be a beautiful silvery gray. Right, so you could probably tweak this. Oh, that looks so good. Perfect. Once you're done with this, simply save the file as a Photoshop document and upload it to this assignment.